What happens when the most powerful man in the world tries to bend India to his will? And one calm, measured word destroys his entire plan. Donald Trump entered the Oval Office thinking India would obey. But Dr. S. Jaishankar proved him wrong. No anger, no shouting, just a single word that shook Washington, Beijing, and the whole world. This wasn't diplomacy as usual. It was a turning point in global power, a masterclass in sovereignty, and a reminder that India would never again be a junior partner. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear is the story of how one word redefined India's place in the world, and left even Trump stunned. The most powerful man in the world sat in the Oval Office, convinced he was about to reshape the global order. Donald Trump had his eyes on India. He thought it was simple. Offer defense deals, waive a few incentives, add compliments, and India would fall in line like every other ally. But what happened next shook Washington, Beijing, and every capital watching closely. Trump believed India could be molded into a junior partner, a grateful nation following America's lead. What he found was a new India, confident, independent, and unwilling to bow. Enter Dr. S. Jaishankar, calm, precise, unshaken by pressure. While others expected panic and concessions, he simply listened, and then delivered a single word that changed everything: reciprocity. Not anger, not protest, just clarity. You raise tariffs, we'll raise tariffs. You block us, we'll block you. You dictate terms, we'll remind you. India is sovereign. That one word shattered decades of assumptions. India would no longer play the role of a dependent ally. The world saw a rising power, equal in dignity, firm in interest, and unafraid of pressure. Trump's playbook failed. Silence replaced desperation. Calm replaced panic, and strength replaced submission. India's message was clear: alignment is subordination, respect is equality, defense purchases, yes, but only on India's terms, while building its own missiles, satellites and drones. Foreign policy: independent, partnerships with the US, Russia, Israel, Iran, Japan, all balanced by one principle: national interest first, even in crisis, from oil sanctions to border tensions. India stood tall, solving problems with its own strength while keeping doors open for diplomacy. A true masterclass in strategic independence. The impact was global. Nations realized sovereignty was possible without isolation, independence without fear. India became the model, a middle power refusing to be a pawn. And at the heart of it all was Jaishankar's quiet revolution. No theatrics, no shouting, just firm, measured conviction. Diplomacy as martial arts, using pressure against the aggressor, winning without unnecessary confrontation. Today the world knows India will not be anyone's junior partner. Partnerships must be equal. Respect must be mutual. The philosophy is simple yet unshakable: reciprocity. A single word that turned the tables and reminded the world true power lies in sovereignty, and real partnerships are built only on respect. History is not written only in battles or treaties. Sometimes it is written in a single word. For decades, the world assumed that India would remain cautious, careful, always balancing between powers, seeking approval rather than demanding respect. That illusion shattered when Dr. S. Jaishankar stood before the world and spoke of reciprocity. It was not a slogan. It was not posturing. It was a declaration. India will engage, but on equal terms. India will partner, but with dignity. India will cooperate, but never at the cost of sovereignty. That single word forced superpowers to recalculate, allies to rethink, and rivals to reassess. Donald Trump entered negotiations believing he could dictate terms. What he faced instead was an India that had transformed quietly but profoundly. No longer a follower, no longer dependent, no longer willing to play the role of a junior partner. This India was clear-eyed, confident, and ready to stand shoulder to shoulder with any nation, but never beneath one. And that is the true power of reciprocity. It is not revenge. It is not hostility. It is balance. It is fairness. It is a reminder that relationships between nations, just like relationships between people, cannot survive on one side giving and the other side taking. Mutual respect is the foundation of lasting alliances. The brilliance of Jaishankar's approach was not only in what he said, but in how he said it. No aggression, no provocation, no unnecessary confrontation, only calm, unshakable conviction. That calm unnerved Washington more than any angry outburst could have. It showed the world that real strength doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to threaten. True strength is steady, unyielding, and undeniable. And so India's message to the world became clear: we are open to partnerships, but we are not for sale. We welcome cooperation, but we will never compromise our sovereignty. We value friendships, but we will never accept domination. The ripple effect was enormous. Across continents, nations watched India's example. They realized that sovereignty is possible, that independence is not isolation, that respect can be demanded without war. Middle powers from Asia to Africa, from Latin America to Europe, began to see a new model. Not alignment or non-alignment, but confident multi-alignment. A strategy that places national interest first, while still building bridges with the world. India had shown that there is another way, that you can say no to a superpower and still thrive, that you can build partnerships without losing yourself, that you can cooperate without surrendering. And this lesson is not just for nations, it is for people too. Each of us in our own lives face pressures to compromise, to submit, to accept less than we deserve. But the principle of reciprocity teaches us something vital. Respect is mutual, or it is not respect at all. Dignity cannot be begged for, it must be claimed. Sovereignty, whether of a nation or of an individual, is non-negotiable. India's rise on the global stage is not about military might alone. It is about mindset. It is about a nation finally seeing itself as equal and demanding the world see it the same way. That change in perspective is more powerful than any weapon, any trade deal, any alliance. It is the power of self-respect, the power of confidence, the power of knowing your own worth. Donald Trump's plan failed not because America was weak, but because India was strong in a way few expected. Strong in patience, strong in conviction, strong in its refusal to bow. And that strength is what defines the new India. So let the world understand India is not here to be a follower. India is not here to play second fiddle. India is here to stand tall, to stand proud, to stand equal. Partnerships will be welcomed, but on terms of mutual respect. Cooperation will be embraced, but never at the cost of sovereignty. This is the lesson of reciprocity. A word that began as a reply to American pressure has become a philosophy for the 21st century. A guiding principle for diplomacy, for strategy, for leadership, and as the world faces new challenges. From global conflicts to economic crises, from technology races to climate struggles. The nations that will endure are not those that submit, but those that stand firm. Not those that beg, but those that balance. Not those that follow, but those that lead with clarity and confidence. India has chosen its path, a path of independence, a path of dignity, a path of equality. It will not be easy. It will not be without challenges, but it will be a path that commands respect, because it is built on principle, not pressure. When future generations look back, they will remember that moment. They will remember that word, reciprocity, and they will see how it reshaped not only India's destiny, but the destiny of nations who dared to follow the same principle. For the world, it was a shock. For India, it was a statement of truth long overdue, a truth that cannot be silenced, cannot be ignored, and cannot be reversed. India will rise not as a shadow of another power, but as its own power, and it will rise with one message to the world: respect us as we respect you. Partner with us as equals. Walk with us, not ahead of us, not behind us, but beside us. That is reciprocity. That is sovereignty. That is the new India.